president this year. So this is sort of not only Bean's opportunity, but my opportunity to hear people right sort of out of the gate.
I think some people feel that they went to public school for 12 years and then to college, and somehow that time makes them an expert in schools.
These are things that I think about all the time, so I'm really glad to have the opportunity to finally maybe say something, and maybe it'll make an impact somewhere.
I think from the superintendents on down, we're all kind of overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that is taking us away from our jobs. And my hope would be to build that coalition to where all of the voices of the state are pushing back and saying, enough.
I look at it right now, we have it like this vortex coming down. Federal, state, DOE, all this stuff, administrators, funneling down. When really what needs to do is come from the bottom up. Those roots, the big things need to come from the bottom and push up to help us support that plant to grow.
The initiatives are overwhelming and we can't teach.
I just think that the expectations are huge compared to when I first started teaching. Huge.
I don't think I've heard anybody say that they're not worthy goals. That better assessment, quicker turnaround, evaluate teachers, all of these things are good and lofty goals. All of them, in a matter of however many years, the time frame is impossible.
I think retail is a prime example of that. Like the intention and what they're doing is good, but it's a significant time upon educators.
We really felt that a lot of things teachers would normally have been able to do and spend time doing to, that's a focus of teaching, had to be pushed aside to kind of prepare for some of the things with the evaluations and a lot of stuff that people needed to get up to speed on.
We want to do this well. We don't want to do it fast.
The whole atmosphere has changed from when I was student teaching. It was just it was really a more relaxed but yet exciting place to be. And it is a great place to work. I love it here, but the atmosphere has changed. It's rushed and stressed and not enough focus on the present time.
We're saying to children, snack time is over, let's finish up, come on, let's finish up, let's go, let's go. So even snack time where they could sit and socialize is becoming more of a let's rush, let's get through this because we're 10 minutes into your reading block and we can't miss reading block, the reading teachers are coming in. And everything has just been stepped up for kindergarten and it's not fair to the children, it's just not fair.
What we as teachers have to deal with is no longer just the curriculum, but it's what's going on the family level, what's going on in the community around them.
And I do see a lot of attention deficits more common. We used to have issues like that, but now I see it as an expected occurrence.
I think one of the things that most teachers would agree is being a counselor comes before being the teacher, because you can't get them until they're comfortable, happy, content, and ready to learn. And fed. They have to have the basics. They have to be fed. They have to, come in a hierarchy of needs. Have a good night's sleep, and they have to come and come to you they have to become emotionally able to take in the information.
I think that it's hard to balance everything because we want to focus on the whole child and we want to educate the whole child. But then we're so data oriented that how do you do that? You have to fit everything in on top of all of the requirements that classroom teachers are getting from the state.
But the single most overwhelming issue I see is the whole assessment piece in general for folks. They feel like they are assessing, and when do we get time to teach?
And even though I'm in second grade and we don't have MCAS, we're still, focused on, are they going to be ready for third? Because at the end of third grade, they're going to have this MCAS. It's terrible. That's all we focus on. And people say they don't teach to the test, and maybe they're not intending to do that, but they are. They are teaching to the test. Because if there's a choice of this lesson that might be project-based, or this lesson that's going to cover the skills you need to know for the MCAS, and there's no time for both, they're going to go with this. They're not going to go with the project. Which is what the students want to do, the project.
I've had two separate principals tell me, oh, hold off on social studies and science.
Yes.
Put those on the back burner.
We've all.
And I say, no, I'm sorry, that's not, I'm here, that's part of my curriculum. I'm teaching science and social studies. Now I can teach them test taking skills with that content. But it's like, you know what, we're not being tested on that, so let that go till
Right.
after the test.
Exactly.
That is the worst possible message we could send to children.
Another, kind of pretty worthy initiative is, I think as you said, was, working on assessments, but the number of them is really the question. And if we sort of had that time, or if there were fewer things, we could do things a lot better. I mean, you're forced with the choice of do a few things well or do a lot of things terribly, and I think that we're making the unfortunate choice out of it too.
Teachers have to cram a lot of material in because the tests come in March and they come in May, and they're usually not done with the standards and everything else that they need to be teaching, and that's a real difference, especially math.
When this year's tests came out, I said, geez, you know what, there was a lot of scientific notation, and the kids, we didn't get to scientific notation, we covered it after the test. So this year, I'm trying to rearrange and say, okay, I gotta try to get to scientific notation before the test, but there's always gonna be something that has to go after the test, and I'm guessing, what do I think they're gonna put the least of?
So we don't have the flexibility to allow students to take 3 or 4 years of science and also take a world language or take an art or music. So we put the students in a difficult spot. They end up missing out on an opportunity, and then we turn around and focus on high-stakes testing.
And we're assessing 5-year-olds on their ability to pay attention at circle time. It's bizarre to me. It's bizarre to me.
The children who already don't have a handle on social skills are getting less of that because everything has become more academic. The expectations in kindergarten are higher. And so what the children actually are being more needy of, they're getting less of. They don't have the playtime, the free time. And even in kindergarten, they have to take time tests. So it's not enough to know your alphabet. It's how many alphabet letters can you give us in a minute.
There's so many students that are not good on paper and pencil, but they can have a full understanding of what you're doing,
Right.
given different manipulatives or being able to vocalize.
It doesn't
or-
address multiple intelligence styles
Right.
at all.
I've worked with plenty of students who are not good test takers because of anxieties, because of reading disabilities, whatever reason. And I see it more at the negative effects more at the high school level, where if you don't pass, you don't graduate. And that's a scary pill to swallow.
We have another problem in my mind with high-stakes testing. I don't know if you've heard this, but how many times I've heard just what's the right answer. Whereas as a scientist, I'm more interested in the process you use to get to the answer you got.
Probably the most troubling trend that I've seen, that I've experienced in the last 10 years or so of education, is that we push everything onto a test because tests are easy. We can manipulate a test. We can get an answer we want out of a test.
But I find we actually do have to teach that idea of, learning to think about, that metacognition, like think about the things you already know. It's like we worked on this today, taking the time just to think.
So I think it's better for us to be able to evaluate students on what we think they're going to be able to do. What we think that they can turn around and do later on when they're middle-aged. And if we can have a project that shows this, if we can have something authentic that's out there, that's on the table, I think that's a lot more valuable than how their data spreads out on a sheet across a certain population and cohort.
Those roots, the big things need to come from the bottom and push up to help us support that plant to grow.
Massachusetts, #1, what is not to be optimistic? If we get our voices all together.
It's surprising to me when I look around the room and, people are looking to me as this wise old gray-haired lady, which I don't feel like, but they seem to look at me like that because they're 26 and 27, and they are great teachers.
I think I love being in an elementary school. I always thought that I would end up in a high school, and I love the age. They're fun. They want to learn. They're excited.
The kids will work very, very hard. If you ask them to do it, they're going to do it.
teaching is basically my life, really, other than my being a mom at home.
Our leadership team is really top-notch, and our superintendent also. So I think we have some positive direction going.
The MTA or our unions or our locals are not all about the trouble. We're
Yeah.
not there to cause trouble. We're there to educate the kid. So if I want to know what teachers think, then I've got to get there. You've got to get there, you've got to get there, and we've got to all come together, and we are it.
And I think one of the most important things that we try to get through to our teachers are that MTA is them. You know, you can have us make your decisions, but you need to be making your decisions. You need to be giving us your ideas.